once you have all your files in Stata format, the next step is to merge them, to put them together into one single file. So let's start with the main, the primary files that in this case, is the COVID data. So I'm gonna open the cases final, which is the final version of the cases data. So to open a Stata file, you don't need to import it. You just use the command use, and then the name of the file, comma clear, because we already have something open, so it closes before. Or you can always go file open in the menu. Just make sure that the data is, your data is mapped to the working directory, and you won't have any issues with that. So let's run this line. Just select and run, and that opens our cases final. And we're going to merge this with the deaths final, which is the other COVID data that we got. And here's where you need to start thinking also in the structure of each of the data sets. In this case, because they both come from the same source, they are both at the country level, and they are also both at the date level. So basically, each row is country date. So we are going to merge them in a way that every single row in one data set matches every single row on another data set, in the other data set. So basically, it's a merge one-to-one. Right? So you can type help merge to see examples and more information about the command. So for now, let's start with the command merge, and then we're going to merge one-to-one, because one case in one data matches another case in another data set. The variables that are common to these two files is country, region, and date var. So we need, in this case, we need two variables that are the keys to match them. And then using here is basically which file do you want to use. So in this case, we're going to bring to the cases data, we're going to bring the deaths final. And then notice there is a comma here. That means some options are coming. So we're going to create a new variable that has a report of how the merge went, and we're going to call it merge1. So every time you merge something in Stata, Stata gives you a report of how the merge went, and once it creates by default a variable called _merge. Since we are going to do many merges in this, more than one merge in this exercise, every time we merge, it's going to give us an error because it cannot create a variable called _merge. So that's why we are going to create our own merge variables. We're going to call them merge1, merge2, merge3. So we have a record of how we actually, what matches what. So let's just select the command and run. So you go here in the main Stata, you can see that everything matched perfectly, right? So it's color coded. Merge1 equals 3 means that everything matches perfectly. So I want to show you an example later on of how when we have different values. You want to see the report, you can do a frequency of that. So in this case, match 3, 189,000 cases, they all match the same. And this is expected because it is basically comes from the same data. So let's save this data as COVID data. It's not yet COVID final because we don't have all the other variables. So we have to do this again. Instead of opening the individual files, we can open this COVID data, which has the cases, and that's all in one. If you want to check it out, just click on Browse. So we have date var, we have the country. So these are the cases, and these are the deaths for all the countries. All right. So if you remember in the World Value Surveys and WDI data, the country variable wasn't called country region, it was called country. So let's use that one, because when you also merge the files, the variables and the options in each file must have the same spelling. So let's say country with lowercase c in one data set and country with uppercase c in the other data set. Stata considers those two as different variables, even though both of them are country. So let's rename this country region as country. As at this point, you should be very familiar with the rename command. So rename country region. This is a current name. We're going to change it to country. And that's it, country. Now let's merge the file. The file. Let's bring the WDI data into the COVID data. The function here is also the same. Its command is merge, but notice now we have an M instead of 1. And this is because, if you remember, we have in the COVID cases, we have each country observed over 950 days, right? In the case of the WDI, we only have it for 1 year, so we have only one country, right? So in this case, Stata needs to match as many countries in the COVID data to one country in the WDI data. So it's merge many to one. So that's what the M is. And notice we have only one variable. The common variable between the COVID cases and WDI is country, same spelling, using, and then the name of the file WDI. In this case, we're going to create a variable called merge2, in which we're going to save a report of the merge. So I'm going to run this, and I'm going to get an error here. And the error here says variable country does not uniquely identify observations in the using data. So the key component here is using. So that means that the error is not in the COVID data, it's in the using data. In this case, the using data is the one that we are bringing in this case, WDI. So we need to go back and check what happens to WDI data. So let's open that. And now, since we are using the country variable as a key variable to merge, let's see what happens. Because it's text files, one possible issue here is that there are missing values in that data. So let's do tab country, comma, missing. Missing basically allows you to see in the frequencies those cases that are blanks, if any. So we're gonna run that one, and then we go up, and yep. So you see these blanks. There are 5 blanks in the data. We didn't catch that before because we just get the frequency without the missing option, if you notice. So let's see. We're gonna browse here, and let's scroll down. So if you notice here, there is dots in the variable, in numeric variables. That means they are missing, and there are blanks on the string variables. And if you saw the previous exercise, the previous video, we actually got this error because we used to have some footnotes in here that we did not delete properly. And that creates empty spaces, and that gives us the error that we have now. So the goal now is to remove these rows. And to do that, we're going to use the command drop again. Drop if, this is a conditional, drop only if variable country, this variable right here, is identical to blanks, basically is equals to blank. So basically missing. So anything that is not is blank, bye-bye. So we're going to select that and run, and that deletes the data. We need to save it, and let's repeat the procedure. So let's open the COVID data, use COVID clear, that's in the Stata file. One thing important to mention here is that you can only merge files that are in Stata, so you cannot merge files that are in Excel or any other format. And because we didn't save the file before with the new name, so let's rename country region again. And that now is country. Now all files have the same key variable in the names, and then let's just rerun this one. So we're gonna go to the main data. And now the merge report is a little bit different from the previous one because there are some countries that are not in one data set or the other. So in this case, from the using data, this is from the WDI data, 78 countries or regions didn't find a match in the current COVID case data. In general, 179,164 cases merge. This is 3 is the one that we want. It's perfect matching. So I'm just gonna do a quick check here. Just tap merge 2. So that's the same thing. These are the frequencies. Master only means these are data. These are cases in the data in the COVID case that didn't find a match in the using. Using 2 is those who were in the using but not in the master or in the primary. And then match 3 is the both. If you scroll this, if you browse this, you notice that this is also a categorical variable. It has labels, but then this is number 3. Eventually we're gonna get to number 2. Here is number 2. So these are data that were in the using, but there is no COVID data for those countries, for these countries. Or regions in some cases. All right, so this is going to be now, since we have now we brought the WDI data, let's call it COVID final data. I'm going to save that one. Now the final step is to bring the WDI, the World Value Survey data. And it's going to be the same thing because there is only one country observation. So it's going to be many to one. Many because we have many cases in the COVID final, and we have only one in the World Value Survey using the World Value Survey 7 that we called, and we're going to create a merge 3 because that's the third merge that we're going to be doing here. And here from the World Value Survey, only 3 countries didn't find a match in the data. So here you can actually decide whether to keep the data as is. At the end of the day, all the procedures that you run in Stata are going to run on complete sets, right? If there are missing values in one of the variables or in one of the procedures, one of the variables doesn't have a full set of data, only runs for those cases for which you have full set. So you can keep it like this, or if you can also, if you decide to just to work with only perfect matches, you can also keep only the perfect matches. So just keep if merge equals 3. So don't run this one because at the end of the day we wanna keep some of the other matches. So but at the end, if you just wanna keep only working with the matches, the perfect matches, you can also do this every time you do a merge, and that kind of like shrinks the data to only common cases. So I'm not gonna run this one, but that's just FYI. All right, so we have our data here. I got this because I clicked on the edit instead of the browse, so that's fine. So this is the data for the World Value Survey, right? So this is the confidence in government. What I'm going to do now is to do a little bit more preparation in this case, like generating a new variable. I'm going to call that variable trust, even though it's confidence. I'm just going to call it trust. And this is just going to be creating a new variable from other variables in the data. I'm going to add a great deal and quite a lot. So this is basically confidence in government. Right? Obviously, whenever there is no data, it's going to be missing the dots. But this one, for example, is 22.5% for Brazil. Right. Now notice that this data set is not perfect in the sense that basically for Brazil we have for all the whole time period that we have the same values. Here what we are basically betting is on the variation that we see across countries. But again, this is just for educational purposes. Now we are going to add a label to the variable trust. I'm going to call it trust in government. And that's going to be a great deal and quite a lot. So this is basically to identify the variable. You scroll down, the last variable is trust, and it has the label. Again, this is just as a reminder of what it is later on. And then once we have the data, because I already saved it as a COVID final, I'm just going to replace it, right? Save replace means that update the variable. And then another final thing to do here is to make sure to put all the identifier variables to the top. One way to do that is using the order function, order command. Is you type just help order, and what this is going to do is going to move country, day, var, and date at the beginning of the data set. So I'm just going to put that in there. So country, day, var, and date. I keep in date just to have a check. But these are the two identifier variables. These are the two variables that we need to continue doing the analysis. And I guess we are ready to do some visualizations.